welcome back to another episode of the Five Tool Baseball Podcast. Joined once again by Drew Bishop on today's episode, and we'll be joined by somebody else here shortly. D1Baseball.com's Kendall Rogers will be joining us. Previously, we had our Texas high school player draft between Drew and I. We're going to mix it up and do a college baseball regional draft with Kendall Rogers at D1Baseball.com. Who better to have on to join us to draft some players from the region, from the state of Texas and all those nearby states that touch the Texas borders. So Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and New Mexico. We will try to draft the three best teams from this respective region. But I think it's a good way for fans to kind of get maybe a little more educated about the college baseball season. We talk so much about the Texas high school baseball season, but a lot of these guys we spend a lot of time talking about go on to play college baseball in this region at these respective programs. And both of those seasons are going to get started here in the very near future. College baseball a little bit sooner than the high school baseball, but certainly the month of February, we're going to see some actual games that matter. So it's time to get excited for all that stuff.
Yeah, I know. Having the hater of all teams, it's going to be exciting to add two more teams to hate to his list. I'm excited to have Kendall. I was kind of hoping for a little bit that he might come in a little bit overconfident, thinking he could just rattle off some guys off the top of his head. But he's been pumping out those previews left and right over the last week or so. So I'm imagining that some of the guys that we thought might slip through the cracks probably won't, but I'm excited to have him on and see who can win this showdown.
Yeah, we picked the wrong time in hindsight to have him on, because this is that's all he's been doing is cranking out the preseason teams and the conference previews and the team previews and everything else. And he's from Texas, so he obviously knows this region extremely well, but one of our favorites for sure, a great friend of both of ours. It's always fun to find a reason to have him on the podcast. So let's not waste any more time. Here's our 5-tool college baseball draft with Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball. It's draft day again on the 5-tool baseball podcast, and Drew and I have to be joined by college baseball's expert of all expert and hater of all teams, D1Baseball.com's Kendall Rogers. Kendall, first off, different topic here, but can you recall anything in college baseball quite like what Chris Beard is going to walk into in Lubbock tonight? Like, has there ever been a college baseball coach that left a program and went to a conference rival or similar and just had this just animosity? I tried to think of one last night and I could not think of anything in college baseball that would come close to resembling this.
Well, I remember a few years ago, and it obviously never materialized. I remember a few years ago, USC, which, they don't spend a lot of money on baseball, but USC kind of went for the jugular and offered John Savage $1 million a year to move from UCLA to USC. Obviously, he was an assistant coach there previously, but he didn't end up going back there. And so, in college baseball, I don't really know of an example. I can tell you this much: it makes a little bit more sense now why Tim Tadlock didn't go to Texas A&M.
Well, what about if TCU was hosting a super against A&M this year?
I think it's totally different. I think the feeling with Schloss and TCU is I think TCU fans are happy to have Kirk Saarloos, but I think TCU fans, even though they might be a little angry that he went to A&M, realize that he put TCU baseball on the map. So, number one, I feel like baseball fans are a little different. But number two, if you're a TCU fan, if it wasn't for Jim Schlossnagle, you aren't who you are today. So it's not like Tech basketball where there have been times where they've been really relevant before Chris Beard. Mm-hmm. I don't know why they're that mad, but I don't know. It's kind of strange.
I mean, to me, you got to be on one of two sides. You have a faction of them saying, okay, we're glad that he left. We kept the real coach and reason we were good anyways. Yeah. Or, you're mad that you think he's a traitor for leaving for more money to go back to his alma mater.
We'll see. That requires the assumption that fans are rational people. So by and large, a lot of these fan bases, fan come from the word fanatic.
It can be a little different.
Reason.
It's actually kind of interesting. I was actually strangely, I'm going to drop my mom in on this. I was talking to my mom about a while back when Texas and Texas A&M played in women's basketball. Like they had, I think A&M had like something like 9,000 people there for a women's basketball game. They like gave like Vic Schaefer like a standing ovation. You're talking about an Aggie who went and is coaching at the University of Texas and goes back there, and the dude got like a standing ovation. So it's interesting to see how different fan bases sometimes kind of treat things a little differently.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll ever see anything in college baseball quite like we'll see tonight.
You don't think Chris Beard will get like a Rick Barnes reception tonight?
If I could bet on that in Vegas, I think I'd put a couple. Can we have
Chris Beard come out of the tunnel by himself?
I mean, that would be quite the thing. Like the ultimate heel move.
Oh,
did you see like Hollywood Hogan coming out as NWO on his own? That would be a type of heel move. Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of, like, Ric Flair's gonna be there tonight. Like, I mean, they're
pulling out all the stops.
Yeah, it's gonna be quite the scene for sure. But let's get back on topic here. We've got our college baseball player draft. We were joking before we started recording here. We picked the absolute wrong time to bring Kendall on because he's been doing previews for like the last month. So his mind is in mid-season form, and he's got all the names. It could be a good time.
I might forget about somebody.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that, but yeah, we could use a couple of layups if you can hand it to us. But just as a reminder with the draft, it's the state of Texas and any state bordering Texas. So for you geography people out there, kind of in your head, get that map going of all those states that are nearby. I'm not going to name them all in case Kendall or Drew have forgotten about one of those states. Maybe gives me a little leg up on the competition, although I'm not optimistic about that. But we'll go through with the catcher, first base, second base, third base, shortstop, 3 outfielders, a DH, a utility, 1, 2, 3, 4 starting pitchers, a reliever, and then we'll wrap it up with a junior college selection because a lot of these JC guys in the region are going to be big-time performers at these respective programs the following season. So we'll have some fun with it. I have the distinct honor and privilege of having the first selection in the draft. It'll go me, Kendall, Drew, and then Drew will go back-to-back. We'll treat it as like snake draft type thing. So I'm fortunate in that I can't really screw this one up. There's a lot of I thought about taking a guy in particular just to see if it would irk Kendall a little bit, because I know he's got a couple of favorites that he always tweets about. But I think I'm going to go to Lubbock, and I'm going to go to third base, and I'm going to go with Jace Young as my guy for my first selection.
You got to put him at second, though. He's going to play second.
Okay, well, I'll put him at second.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
He's just the all-around skill set, all-around tools. I think that he's, there's probably no such thing as a lock as being a first-round pick this type of year, but man, he's pretty close to it. Probably, in hindsight, maybe I'll look back at this pick and think I might have should have gone to Baton Rouge, but I feel really good about this one.
Yeah, speaking of Baton Rouge, I'm going to go with Jacob Berry.
Yeah.
I'm going to actually put him at DH because they don't know exactly where he's going to play. He could play third. He could play DH. He could actually end up playing first base. I just think when you look at the year that he had last year, Arizona, just ridiculous power numbers. He's going to carry that over to Baton Rouge. He was hurt in the fall a little bit, but he's healthy now, and he's going to have a huge year for those guys. So I'm going to go with my man, Jacob Berry.
Kind of reminds me of Torkelson, kind of like it's a bat first profile, but the bat is so good that he's going to be in the 1-1 mix.
Yeah, right, there's no question.
While Kendall's down in Baton Rouge, I think I'm going to join him and go with his very own predicted SEC Player of the Year, Dylan Cruz, for the outfielder.
It's a good pick.
Yeah.
To be fair, Aaron picked him, not me.
Okay.
Oh, hey now.
Wow.
Hey now.
Okay. Do you hear that, Tiger fans? All right. Well, I'm going to go back around the horn and I'm going to head to Austin, and I'm going to get my Friday night starter.
Homer alert.
With
you knew. I
projected.
I can't believe you didn't take like Murphy Staley as the number 1 overall pick.
Hey. Listen.
He had a good fall.
Yeah, he did have a good fall.
Don't spoil his sleepers.
Hey, listen. Okay, I'm gonna go with my Friday night guy, Pete Hansen. Pete Hansen. Who picked him as the Big 12 pitcher of the year? Coaches, right?
The coaches did. I picked Justin Campbell.
Okay. All right. So Kendall, you're back on the clock. Where are you headed?
I think on that note, I think I'm going to go with Justin Campbell. I'm going to get my Friday night guy as well. That's a good call. I like your approach there.
Okay. All right. So we'll go with Justin Campbell. Back to Dustin.
Now, although Jace is going to play second, can I play him at third for
you can play him at
Dustin?
DH. You can put him at DH if you wanted to.
That's a tough call.
No, look, I know what Kendall's doing right there.
Yeah, I know what he's doing too. And I want to take his guy here, but I got to figure out if it can work with my lineup construction.
You better not.
Let's see here.
Is this going to be Kendall's Braden
I'm going to do it just to irk Kendall. I'm going to call the Hogs here, and I'm going to take Bob Moore. I'm going to take hashtag Bob Moore just because I know.
What kind of absolute disrespect is it to put Bob Moore at DH?
No, I'm putting Bob at second. I think I should be able to play Jace at third.
Yeah,
if this was a fantasy draft, he would have third base eligibility in the draft.
So here's what I'm just gonna add a rule here. This is like playing pool. You're gonna have to tell us what position they're at. You can't move them.
Yeah. So like when the Tigers drafted Torkelson and announced him as a third baseman, I'm announcing Young as a third baseman, and I'm putting Moore at second. And man, woo, feeling pretty good. I've got a lot of swag on that team right there. Dude. And then I'm up again, and I'm going to go to Baton Rouge, and I'm going to get a big old corner infield power bat there. The guy can hit. I'm going to get Trey Morgan, a D1Baseball.com first team preseason All-American. I'm going to slide Trey Morgan in there at first base.
Oh, interesting. Power hitting guy with 6 home runs last year.
Yeah, he's going to hit for some power this year.
Okay.
You can hit for some doubles, but I mean, I'll say this about Trey: you will not find a better pure hitter / defender at first base in college baseball. It's not even close.
Yeah, that's going to be a pretty tough infield to scoot a ball through right there, assuming he makes a good pick at shortstop.
Let's see here. You know what? I'm looking for some power. I'm looking for the best 3-4 punch in college baseball. I'm going to go with Ivan Melendez at first. I'm a little skeptical of the defense over there, but in David Pierce we trust. He says he's going to be okay over there. So, anytime you can have a guy that had 11, 12 home runs to go with a guy that almost had 20 last year, I feel really good about the middle of the lineup.
That's some juice. That's some big time juice in the middle of that lineup.
We're like old school gorilla ball over here, man.
Yeah, if you're playing a Rosenblatt, I mean, you'd be putting up some monster numbers for sure.
Okay, well, my last pick, I was in Austin. I think I'm going to stay in Austin.
Of course.
I'm gonna.
He couldn't even go a couple rounds.
Hey, Kendall, if I remember correctly, you ranked him number 1. I'm going to get a guy that I've known since he was 9 years old to play up the middle for me and make sure that nothing gets through the left side. I'm going to go with Trey Faltine, who's going to have a big offensive year at short. And then I'm going to go back to the mound and get top 10 pick from 2023, Tanner Witt.
Man, you could draft guys other than Longhorns, right?
Good.
I do.
Lord.
I do.
I have a rule. You got to draft an Aggie at some point.
Hey, I got some on my board. I got a couple stashed away on my board.
I do have one. I'm going to save him though. I don't think you're going to draft him, so I'm going to save him.
Noted.
Okay. Back to me, huh?
Yeah, you're up.
You know what? I'm gonna go. Oh, I only have one pick. I thought I had two. Boy, this is tough. I'm gonna go to Baton Rouge. I'm gonna go Cade Doughty at third.
Good pick. Good one.
I think he's gonna have a big year.
Man, that lineup is just absurd.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to hit. I'm putting all my money in. I'm putting all my scholarship money into hitting here.
It appears 11 of your 11.7 are going to hitters. Huh?
It is. I will say that it's hard to beat Trey, Bob, and Jay. So that's pretty good.
All right, I'm back on the clock here. I'm going to stay in this great state of Texas, but I'm going to go up to the DFW area, and I'm going to grab an outfielder, and I'm going to go with Jace Grady from Dallas Baptist.
All right.
And then let's see here. I'm gonna bet on some upside and some all-around tools. I'm gonna take Oklahoma State's Noel McLean as my next pick.
Ooh, I like that. As your utility?
Yeah, as a utility guy, can kind of do everything.
I like that.
I think he's gonna have a big year.
Kendall, you're on the clock, my friend.
Well, since you guys did this with Jace Young and moved him positions,
you can do it.
I'm going to go with
Just announce
Brayden
him.
Taylor as one of my outfielders.
Outfielders?
Has
he played outfield?
Yeah, he played it last year for a little bit.
Okay. All right. Just making sure.
I'll double check. I mean, I have been doing previews, so I might have forgotten.
We'll let you have that one.
Hold on.
Let you have that.
I'm gonna look. Y'all go ahead, but I'm gonna look just to make sure that I'm not thinking of somebody else.
All right. Okay. Well, that said, I think I'm gonna
actually
go
tap the brakes. Tap the brakes.
Oh, all right.
I'm not seeing him in the outfield on any of these box scores. I must be thinking of somebody else. See, I told you you're gonna trip me up.
Yeah.
Let me take him off. Did you pick somebody yet?
No, you're still good. I'll let you have it. I figured I took my time. I figured you might come across that.
Yeah, I was doubting myself there. I'll go with Peyton Graham at short at OU. Obviously, I'm taking the risky infielders. You know, I have Melendez at first. You don't really know how he's going to play first. You got Peyton Graham. He's obviously proven at third, but like he's moving to short. It's a question mark. But I mean, again, you're talking about he's a little bit Trey Morgan-ish. Like he's kind of skinny, but he's just a really good pure hitter.
Yeah, high upside guy. Okay. Well, that said, glad you came to that conclusion because I'm going to go with Brayden Taylor at third base. And then I'm going to fill a utility spot with OU's Cade Horton. So I'm going to get a guy that's going to hit in the middle of their lineup, hopefully be back by the end of the spring, pitching at the top of that rotation. And I'm going to get my guy. I'm going to go up to the Sooners and get a guy that I know Skip Johnson is really excited about. Kendall, you are on the clock.
I cannot believe he's still available.
I'll do it.
This is blasphemy, but I'm going to go with Jared McKenzie.
Oh, okay.
Like I couldn't believe. When I looked at his name, I was like, "Wait, he's still available." Think about Jared, just a left-handed hitter. Just man, we talk about pure hitters in these lineups. I mean, he's as good as it gets. Like he has been ultra consistent since Shriners, his freshman year before the season got canceled. Like he just put on an absolute show and he hasn't stopped.
That's a dagger to my cue right there. Had them all fired up and ready. Man, that's
He's so good.
Yes, he is. Yeah, I mean, like you said, Kendall, he's just been good like from the jump. You know, one of those rare freshmen that just
Yeah, and he
comes
hasn't
in right
always had a
away.
lot of help around the lineup either.
No. Man, that's
Dustin for 2.
oof. That threw a wrench into my process there for sure. I kind of want to bend the rules here, but I guess I won't. Let's see if I get a shortstop. Man, I kind of need to get some arms at some point.
Yeah, you do.
I've been loading up on the I'm gonna get a bullpen anchor, a guy that's proven it on the national stage. I think the guy's gonna add a lot of moxie and leadership to Team Dustin. I'm gonna put Aaron Nixon in the back of my bullpen as my reliever. Like that mentality in the back of my bullpen. I think he's gonna rub off positively on my rest of my roster.
Little first team D1 baseball American for you.
Yeah. I mean, if we're scoring this thing on D1 picks, I'm gonna be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, you're doing all right.
Man, the pitching though, I'm coming up a little skeptical on the pitching. Kind of reminder the bummer of Peyton Pallette with his injury. That dude was going to be an absolute monster this year for sure. Let's see here. I'm gonna stick in Austin. I'm gonna take a guy that I think is primed for a big year, and I'll put him at utility. Just even though I think that he eventually will play shortstop. I'm going to take Mitchell Daley. I think that Mitchell Daley is going to end up being the best pro prospect for this year's draft class from that team. Pure hitter, just a guy that was ultimately super steady whenever he got into the lineup. So I'm going to add that high contact bat to my lineup and a glove that can kind of play all over the place.
That's a good pick. I was thinking
he actually got a haircut recently. I saw he got a haircut. Kendall, you're on the clock.
That's some good scoop, man.
We knew him as Pretty Boy Mitch, so he's getting rid of the hair. He's going to be all about business this year as a draft eligible sophomore.
There we go. So this guy is switching positions, but I know he's played outfield. I'm going to go with Caden Wallace at Arkansas. Just a phenomenal player as a freshman last year. 14 homers, 44 RBIs in the SEC. That'll play. Again, a lot of power in this lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're loading up.
Speaking of power, I'm going to go back to Baton Rouge for a guy that had 19 home runs last year and 66 RBIs, Gavin Dugas.
Good play.
So I'm going to take him, and then I'm going to go with a high upside starting pitcher back in Norman, left-handed pitcher Chaz Martinez. So that rounding that out, Dugas and Martinez for Team Bish. Oh, and as a reminder for the listeners, we've got a vote coming later tonight with Team Dustin, Team Bish, and then the third team will be Kendall's hashtag Team Hater for the hater of all teams.
Very appropriate. Very appropriate.
Am I up?
You're up.
Oh, okay. I might want to start getting some starting pitching at some point.
Yeah, I think I've got this this pitching thing down here. I think I know where I'm going.
So I'm going to build my pitching staff the way I would a pitching staff for a college baseball team. I've got my first round pick on Friday night. I want to go on Saturday that if my team craps the bed, he's got my back. So I'm going to go with Tristan Stevens as my Saturday starter.
Ooh, that's smart. Like he can eat the innings for sure. Keeps the ball on the ground. Although I don't know how that infield defense is going to handle those ground balls. but I like it. I like it. I'm back on the clock, and shout out to the Doghouse in Ruston, Louisiana. I'm going to go get an arm. I'm going to go get Jonathan Fincher from Louisiana Tech.
There you go.
As a guy that's strike thrower. I think he, like Stevens, got a chance to eat some innings for me. I had to get an arm there. So I'm going to go with Fincher as my first pitcher, first starting pitcher. And then I might take a upside pick here with a young guy that I think has got a chance to just be a monster. I'm gonna go with Peyton Stovall as my DH.
Ooh. He's gonna be really good.
I think with that lineup, it's gonna offer him a chance to kind of have a little protection, but the talent is really good, and I think he's got a chance to have a huge year.
All right. Kendall, you're on.
I'm up.
Clock.
Sunday starter. This is not a good sign that when we're in this round that we're like struggling to find starters.
It feels like the pitching is down compared to most years.
It definitely is. I'm going to go with a guy that certainly has a lot of uncertainty, but I believe in the arm. And with Peyton Paulette's injury, he's going to have to be really good this year. I'm going to go with Jackson Wiggins, my Sunday guy. Thing about it as a Sunday guy, like, he's one of those guys that if he clicks, like, he is maybe the best Sunday starter in college baseball if he clicks. So I'm going to go with Jackson Wiggins.
Okay. Well, I need to fill a first base role. And I'm going to go to Fayetteville for a guy that hit 14 home runs, had 63 RBIs, Brady Slavens.
Steady Eddie.
That's my guy. I'm going to go with Brady Slavens. And then I think I'm torn here. I'm going to get my fourth starting pitcher. I'm torn between two left-handed pitchers in the Big 12. And I think I'm going to put my faith back into Skip Johnson and take their Friday night starter, Jake Bennett.
Got a lot of upside there.
Yes, I do. So I'm going to take him there. So that, recapping those picks, Brady Slavens at first base, Jake Bennett as my starting pitching. So I've got, let's see, starting pitching closed out for Team Bish with Pete Hansen, Tanner Witt, Chaz Martinez, and Jake Bennett. So I've got two Skip Johnson pupils and two Sean Allen pupils.
You stick to what you know.
Such a homer.
Yeah, hey, such a homer.
Hey, dude, I don't even
how many
on my whole team yet.
How many people are going to argue that that's the best combo of four starting pitchers?
We'll see. Kendall and I aren't done with our staffs yet. We'll see.
But you're already saying you don't know where to go. So That's okay.
Well, I've got one for you here. I'm gonna round out my starting rotation with a left-handed Friday night starter at TCU that I think is going to have a really good year. Austin Cruz.
There
He
you
had
go.
96 strikeouts last year. ERA was 3.81, but the last month of the season, he was as good as anybody in the country. I saw him in the fall. He was really good. I'm going to go with Austin Cruz. How about that as my number 4 starter?
That's who I was torn between. I went with Bennett and the upside, but Cruz.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good pick.
Yeah. Dustin?
I'm going to bet on upside here with an arm. I'm going to go with Oklahoma State's Victor Medeiros, a transfer from Miami. I'm a little concerned that the strike throwing just hasn't shown yet, but I think if he gets up there and they unlock some things, he could have a big time season. Definitely a strikeout guy. Kind of got that potential to rack up the Ks there. Might have to lean on my bullpen a little bit. But I'm going to go with Medeiros as an arm. And see where else we go here. Man, getting down the list. I need a shortstop at some point here.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. You know, I feel good about my offense and my offensive base. I'm going to go to Fayetteville to get a shortstop, but I'm going to take Jalen Battles.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
That was
a lot of similarities with him and Trey.
Yeah, that's kind of, you hope the bat comes on. It's capable of coming on, but you can feel pretty good about what that glove's going to give you. Kind of balance my infield a little bit. And plus, with him and Bob Moore, I mean, that's chemistry right there. That's my double play duo. A lot of chemistry. Best double play duo in this draft.
Okay. Kendall, you're on the clock, my friend.
Okay. Who did I just write down? I've got like 100 different tabs here.
Yeah, join the club.
I had somebody. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna probably surprise everybody a little bit here. I'm gonna go with a guy who I thought when I saw him in the fall, like he's not a prospect, but like I absolutely loved his game, and that's Dylan Rock at A&M.
That was one of my Aggies I had stashed away there.
Man, just a really good looking college player. I mean, I think he hit 385 last year with 9 bombs at UTSA. I think he's going to have a really good year for that. He's a nice player. He's a good steady Eddie guy to have with all those prospects.
I love it. Good pick. Let's see. I'm going to go to the outfield side, and I'm going to go out to Abilene and grab a guy that had, 13 home runs, 17 doubles, and 57 RBIs while hitting 342 for Abilene Christian last year. I'm going to go with Colton Eager as my third outfielder. The guy can really play. I'm a big fan of that guy. And then while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and get the best defensive catcher in the country.
Let me guess, you going back?
I'm heading back southeast of Abilene, and I am. I'm going to grab my guy.
You headed back. You haven't left.
I just called Eager and told him to come join me.
Yeah.
Drive back to Austin again.
Yeah.
And I'm going to grab Silas Arjuan, the best defensive catcher in the draft. He's got some familiarity with half of the rotation. So I like that. Think he's going to have a breakout offensive year. Excited to have him.
What Drew is telling the fan base is that he thinks Texas could beat any team in this region combined.
Well, they are ranked number 1 per Kendall and Aaron, I guess. And then I sprinkled in some more flavor from some other high-level programs like LSU, Arkansas, up-and-coming program, Abilene Christian. So, I mean, I've got plenty of experience here in the SEC to help bolster my roster. So, Kendall, you're back on the clock, my man.
For catcher, I'm going to actually go back to the station, and I'm going to get Troy Clunch. You know, he's an all Pac-12, first-team all Pac-12 guy last year. You know, he grew up in that Oregon State program, won a national championship. I think he's going to make a pretty big impact for those guys. Just a really good defender. Anything you get from him offensively is just a plus. And I think he hit around 300 last year for the Bees. So I'm going to go with Troy Clunch.
Okay. There you go.
But there is one catcher I hated to leave off, and I'll be interested to see if Dustin takes him.
If he doesn't, it's a miss.
If he doesn't, it's definitely a miss that nobody took him.
Well, I don't have to take him. I don't have to take a catcher now because you guys have already taken 2, so I can take my time with catcher because I've got some other guys.
We'll see if you can figure out who I'm talking about.
No, I have no idea.
I know.
Right now.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
I'm gonna.
I wanted to take him, but
I'm gonna stick in the Big 12 with another upside arm. This time in Lubbock with Brandon Birdsell. My rotation might struggle to throw strikes occasionally, but we're not going to lack stuff. That's for sure. We're going to have the stuff to compete and rack up some swings and misses.
You may actually, Dustin, you may be able to capitalize on guys being afraid to jump in the box.
That's true. We're gonna set the tone, you know, with Nixon in the back end having his presence. Yeah, we're gonna set the tone for sure. Let's see. I lost my last guy. Where did he go? Do I want to go another pitcher? I gotta look on the list here and make sure I'm not drafting anybody that's already been taken. I wish I could take my JUCO guy already because I think there's one guy that's clearly way better than the rest. Let's see here with an arm. I think I'm going to go to the Big 12 for another arm. I'm going to take righty Riley Cornello from TCU. I think he's got a chance to be one of the best arms in the conference. And that
is way, a reliever or starter? He's going to start for him.
Starter.
He's already got
it. He had a really good fall.
So that locks up. That gives me my rotation of Birdsell, Fincher, Medeiros, and Cornello, and then Nixon lurking in the bullpen. Feeling pretty good.
You know, one guy that none of us picked, I think is going to have a really big year is Cam Brown at TCU.
Yeah, I could see that.
He's really good.
Yeah, no doubt. Big fan.
Am I up?
You are up.
Closer, I'm going to go with Garrett Wright at TCU. To me, he's Durbin Feltman 2.0. Obviously, last year was kind of a mixed bag as a young arm. But, like, he just has that big arm with a nasty slider. To me, he's Durbin Feltman. So I think he's going to have a really big year.
I like it. Good pick. All right. Y'all are done on the closer, so I can save that for the end. All right.
I guess I should choose a second baseman sometime this year.
You should. But I'm going to go ahead and do that for mine. I'm going to go with a high infield or high upside infielder. I'm going to go to Stillwater and take Rock Reggio.
Ooh.
As my
as an infielder or outfielder?
Second baseman.
Okay.
And then I got confidence that Trey can show him the way it's short. Reggio is a big time prospect, been, Team USA basically since he was born. And then I need a DH. So I'm going to look through some of my notes here and see what I can find. I think I'm going to go just down the street a little bit for a big time power bat that had 11 home runs, 14 doubles, 46 RBIs, really good analytics numbers. Guy that can catch a little bit too, plays first base, but I'm going to go with DBU's Cole Moore for my.
Oh, I liked him as a high school guy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Georgetown guy, I believe. So yeah, I'm going to take a Patriot and put him at DH, Cole Moore. Kendall, back to you.
Ooh, speaking of high upside picks, I'm glad he was left. At second base, I'm going to go with Trey Richardson at Baylor.
Ooh, yeah, I like it.
He's a really nice player. He's a rising prospect. He had a great fall. I was a little concerned about second base. I'm no longer concerned.
Yeah, you shouldn't be. He's a stud. Is he going to play short this year for them? He looked like he was taken in and out at short last week in some of the practice.
Oh, really?
I know
maybe he is going to move over there.
Yeah.
They have him at second in the survey, though.
Interesting. Okay.
Let me double check.
No, I mean, yeah. Go ahead and check it out. But good pick. Big fan of.
Yeah, he's listed at second. Just making sure.
All right.
Well, I need to get it. Am I on the clock? I need to get a catcher at some point. I think that's kind of important.
There is one out there waiting in the wings.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm
painfully obvious.
I don't think I'm.
Painfully
I think
obvious.
I'm completely blanking on the guy though. Like,
well, that's good, but go ahead and make your pick.
Because it doesn't do y'all any good if I don't take him. Or let's see here. Yeah,
it does.
I think I'm totally blanking on the guy that y'all are thinking of.
Yeah, Kendall. Once you pick, then we can reveal who it is.
Yeah.
Once it gets back to you, we can.
Wait, I think I know who it is. Let me make sure you guys haven't taken him yet. Scroll back up here. I think it's let's see. Let me do a quick control find here. Nope. I think I'm going to go north of the Red River here and take Jimmy Crooks as my catcher.
Thank you. I was about to, I
don't know why I thought you guys took him already because of Cruz. I heard Cruz earlier and I thought it was Crooks.
Gotcha.
So
that's the only thing that made sense there. Because if you didn't take him and Jimmy Crooks went unpicked, that would have been a travesty, and I would have had my portion of the article written for the biggest snub. Already,
although I do think the McManus kid that LSU got, I think he's got it.
Is he even catching? Like I look because
that's true.
Whole catch for him. He actually looked okay in the fall.
Okay, well that's it because he was like the third catcher last year for Samford, based on numbers. So I just found that interesting because I had him stashed away as a potential DH. But yeah.
I'm gonna let's see the outfield here. I need a couple outfielders. I'm gonna bet on some upside. When we had Sean Allen on earlier, he said that this guy had one of the best falls he's seen from a position player. And man, he finished the year just scorching hot. Not the biggest prospect guy, but I think that he's going to have a good year. I'm going to go Eric Kennedy. Add some speed to my lineup. Play that speed in the corner potentially. I think he's going to have I think he's a really good college baseball player.
Okay. Kendall, you are on the clock with that last outfielder.
Ooh. I don't know who the hell I want to take it outfield here. I'm going to go back to – I think I'm going to go to Dustin McComas, and I'm going to go to La Tech and take my man Phil Machulia, the outfielder from La Tech. He's, again, you're talking about a guy who's a fifth-year senior, has been there forever, has a lot of experience, got to a regional final last year. I think he hit 311, 12 bombs last year. I like older players like that, a lot like Tristan Stevens. I think he's a really nice kind of final piece here in the outfield.
Okay. Well, Dustin, what are you playing McLean as?
I mean, he was utility, I thought.
Who?
I think we may have a roster infraction here.
Oh, he's not listed.
What did he do?
Where did he go? He's not on my roster.
Who's he talking about?
McLean. I drafted McLean, and I don't see him. I don't know where he went.
A little roster infraction. So you're going to have to pick someone else to play out a position in the outfield.
That's a bummer.
McLean can play outfield. Kendall, can we get a ruling on that?
Who's that?
McLean, Nolan McLean. I know Mitch Daley can play outfield. I know Mitch can go out there, and he took fly balls out there. He can do it just fine. All right.
Yeah, I was wondering where he was.
Yeah, interesting.
We'll give it to you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I've got my final two picks right now. For my relief pitcher, I'm going to go grab a Ragin' Cajun for my closer. And I'm going to take Brandon Talley, who returns off of a 34-inning, 1.59 ERA, 8 save, and a 1.75 batting average against from the left side as my closer. So Brandon Talley for my relief pitcher. And now for our last pick each, we are all going to pick a junior college player to round out our roster. I'm going to stay on the mound with a lefty.
Let me guess.
An international guy.
Let me guess.
San Jack.
Another Longhorn.
Shocking.
Don't be mad because he was the one guy that you wanted to take. But I'm
no,
go
it's
with
not. No.
Chris Stewart.
Netherlands representing.
Netherlands, San Jack Gator. Didn't get to see him pitch this past weekend when I went over to watch them play Grayson, but absolute stud, big fan. And that will close out Team Bish. Kendall, your last pick.
I'm going to go with just kind of digging through the names here. The guy that seemed to have a lot of helium from a draft standpoint, I'm going to go with Adrian Saravo from Weatherford, right-handed pitcher, LSU commit, 93-95, hard slider. Apparently, the arrow is moving up on him right now.
Yeah, I saw him at the JUCO All-Star Weekend at DBU. Yeah, he's got a chance to pitch in that rotation. I'm going to go to San Jack for the final pick here for my junior college selection. A guy that I saw hit a bomb and just was the standout bat of the All-Star Weekend. Ended up committing to Arkansas pretty quickly after that. Harold Call, who plays shortstop for San Jack, really physical player. I think that he's got a chance to slide into shortstop and hit somewhere probably in close to the middle of the order. But certainly he's got a bat that can play right now in the SEC if he doesn't end up being selected high enough to sign here at the JUCO. But I'm expecting that San Jack team to have quite the year because they certainly don't lack talent. That's for sure.
There's no doubt about it. Well, let's look at these rosters. Okay.
Drew's got Team Longhorns. Go ahead and read them off, Drew. Team Skip Johnson coaching the Longhorns.
Wow. Okay. I love my team. I got the best defensive catcher in the country. I've got best defensive shortstop in the country. I've got some big-time bats, Brady Slavens, Braden Taylor, Gavin Dugas, Dylan Cruz, the SEC Player of the Year predicted by Kendall/Aaron. I've got probably the best rotation of the three of us with Pete Hansen, Tanner Witt, Chaz Martinez, and Jake Bennett. I've got a proven closer at the back end. I like my team.
You know who hates your team? Kendall Rogers.
He does. Let's move
because he's got all those Longhorns on him.
Let's move to team hater. Kendall, what do you think?
So I got Troy Claunch from Texas A&M at catcher, Ivan Melendez at Hispanic Titanic at first from the University of Texas. I've got Trey Richardson from Baylor. He's got a lot of helium at second base. I was actually a little surprised that I was able to grab him at the very end. I got Cade Doty at third. They might actually have Jacob Berry at third this year, but I got Doty at third. Peyton Grant from Oklahoma, certainly a proven bat up the middle at shortstop. Jared McKenzie from Baylor, one of the better hitters, pure hitters on any of these teams. In the outfield, Dylan Rock, just a proven college guy. Phil Machulia, another proven college guy. Jacob Berry from LSU at DH, one of the best hitters in college baseball. Caden Wallace at Arkansas, huge power. I think he's going to hit 330 this year with probably 14 bombs. And then when you get to the pitching, I've got a first-round pick and a first-team All-American in Justin Campbell, just a veteran, hard-nosed guy in Tristan Stevens. A lot of upside pick there with Jackson Wiggins, and then another proven guy in Austin Krob. And they kind of finish things off with Garrett Wright from TCU, the hard-throw righty, and then Adrian Serravo from Weatherford Junior College and LSU commit.
Yeah, I think the theme with the pitching in this region is going to be, some guys with some stuff, but there's not many proven commodities. Yeah. I mean, that's usually
for y'all.
Right. I mean, Witt's an upside pick for you. He's never been a starter. Like, that's a guy you're having to bet on some upside.
Yeah, but I don't really have much doubt in that one.
No, I don't either.
Where'd you have him ranked in the Big 12 for picks for the 23 draft? I think it was first, right?
Me?
Yeah,
it was him.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Although I'll say this, I don't think Braden Taylor's far behind. Like, I think it's really close.
Whose team is? I have him too. Huh.
Okay. That was a screw up.
He's just pandering to the audience. Skip Johnson, Kendall Rogers, and Longhorns. That's what's going on here. All right, my team. I've got Jimmy Crooks behind the plate from Oklahoma, one of the better catchers in the country. Morgan from LSU at first, big time hitter there. I've got #Bob Moore at second base, just a dynamic, do-it-all, awesome player. Jace Young at third base. Jalen Battles is my glove, kind of shortstop there. Grady from Dallas Baptist in the outfield. I think he's got a chance to be one of the better outfielders in the country. Certainly a guy that's going to be heavily scouted this season. Eric Kennedy, speedy guy in the outfield there, kind of betting on him having a pretty good season. McLean, we're just going to play him all over the place. He's a do-it-all guy, super utility player. We'll just get that bat in the lineup somewhere. Betting on some young upside with Peyton Stovall from Arkansas. Mitchell Daley, a guy that could play all over the place defensively, mostly second. He definitely play some short. I think he's going to, if he ends up at school another year, I think he's going to take over at shortstop there for Texas. On the mound, it's a lot of upside with Birdsell and Medeiros from the Big 12, Texas Tech and Oklahoma State, respectively. Stuff guys. We'll see if they can throw strikes and rack up those strikeouts for me. Riley Cornello from TCU moving into the rotation there. Jonathan Fincher from La Tech going to give me some stability in that rotation. Aaron Nixon in the back end as my closer, proven guy, great leadership, great intangibles. Then my JUCO pick, shortstop from San Jacinto, Harold Call, who signed with Arkansas. If that guy ends up at Arkansas next year, I think we'll be talking a lot about him in the 2023 college baseball season. But
I'll say this. I think what's really interesting about the teams in this region, clearly LSU, Texas, and Arkansas, by the construction of these rosters, obviously are the cream of the crop. But I think the really interesting thing to me, and we'll see if this is just us just having really bad picks to click, but the really interesting thing to me are the lack of the Red Raiders on these teams. Texas Tech is one of those teams this year that I feel like I don't really know what to expect. Like a lot of their ranking, honestly, was like every single year Tim Tadlock has them ready to play. You know what it kind of reminds me of is Mike Martin back in his Florida State days. Like FSU could lose like 18 guys, and like the next year you're kind of like, okay, well, like they don't look like they should be ranked. Oh, by the way, they end the season in Omaha every single year, and so I feel like Texas Tech's a little bit like that. And they just don't have a lot of representation here. And that's not necessarily wrong. I'm just very curious at the end of the year if we look really wrong.
Well, it is interesting. I mean, I keep telling people, you're not hearing a lot about them. And that's scary because I think that's how Tim likes it.
Yeah. When's the last time they've been like that,
Right. Yeah. No, and it allows them, I was part of some teams when I played that, we had this really blue collar group, for the early 2000s. You started winning, you start recruiting a little bit and going after more of the kind of prospecty type guys that, weren't really what you built the program on. And I think, they may have had a little bit of that. And so this might represent them getting back to what really, built the foundation of that program. I mean, it helps having a guy like Jace Young in your lineup.
Yeah.
I mean, his numbers are silly. And
they seem really old, and that's a lot of time in college baseball. If you've got some physicality and some experience and some mentally tough guys, you can win a lot of games doing that. So I can't think of the last time a Tadlock team entered the year underrated,
Yeah, no, exactly.
No, go ahead.
I mean, I think that's just, if I had to guess, I would think that they're not too concerned about that. Those are the kind of teams that they've really strived with. And I mean, I don't think anybody wants to see them on the schedule would be my main thing. But
and let's not forget, I mean, Tim Tadlock loves the sandbag. I still remember the fall that he had Gabe Holt. Like I remember going back to the fall report, like their opening weekend when I saw him. It was maybe his week 2 of Shriners. So Shriners weekend, all of a sudden Gabe Holtz is like, I mean, it's like a rake show out there, like just really athletic. He just wore everybody out. And I go back and look at my fall notes, and like he's not even listed. Like they don't even mention him. And so I remember seeing Tadlock the next time. I'm like, you didn't even tell me about Gabe Holt, and he just smiled real big. So you can guarantee that Tech has somebody, whether it's like an Owen Washburn or something like that, that's going to come out of nowhere and probably hit like 370.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've done such a good job of finding the quote unquote, diamond in the rough. And I imagine there might be one lurking out there in Lubbock right now, assuming they make it through tonight. But looking at the list, I got my list, my pre-draft list going, and just kind of looking at the names. Anybody, I have a couple guys that to me I would have loved to have found a place for, or I had queued up in the event that some other picks were made. But freshman left-hander from A&M, Ryan Prager, is going to have a chance to be in that rotation. If I hadn't had so many older guys available when I was up, I thought he would be a really good pick. I thought right-handed pitcher from Oral Roberts, Isaac Coffey, was a guy who was a freshman All-American last year. He had really good numbers. And Dustin, when you went to that outfielder from Texas that I thought you were going to pick for an upside pick, I thought you were going to go with Douglas Hodo. I think, from everything I've heard, I think he's going to have a really, really big year. The athleticism's there. I think he really came into his own on that postseason run. Those are some guys that, I think could easily be the snub candidates for when we look back on these lists.
Jake Thompson for me at Oklahoma State. He was kind of the next outfield queued up for me. What he hit like 340 last year.
Yeah.
You know, that lineup's always got a couple guys that just kind of really have huge years.
Yeah, and another guy, this is maybe a candidate. I'm probably shooting myself in the foot by throwing this name out there, but with all these shortstops probably off the board when we do this again next year, you know, if you want to, Dustin stole his little brother from me during the high school draft, but Abilene Christian shortstop Bash Randall was newcomer of the year last year, hitting 305, played really good defense. I think he's filled out some in the offseason. He's going to have a chance to, I mean, I like what Abilene Christian has. There's a couple guys I have recruit up. Yeah. Blaze Lambert, Craig Perry. Yeah, those guys know what they're doing, and they're going to be a tough little out across the board. You know, you've got another guy out there, Grayson Tatro, I don't know how you say it, but hit 325 with 10 jacks and 39 RBIs last year. So they've got a good little nucleus there that has a chance to make some noise.
Yeah, and keep an eye on, you know, one guy nobody picked, and he was actually the catcher I was referring to. It wasn't even Crooks. It was Bennett Lee at Tulane. He hit 440 last year for the Green Wave. Had a really good year, had a really good fall. He's one of the better players in college baseball right now as a second-year player for the Green Wave.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the kind of the, I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but those second-tier D1 programs in this region are like really good, or at least they're starting to acquire a lot more talent. Like you're talking about the DBUs and the ACUs. We didn't even mention Sam Houston State, you know, what they've done consistently.
Yeah.
You know, Tulane, I think, is getting at least a little bit closer to being, you know, it wasn't that long ago when Tulane was a national seed. Like a lot, like it seems like the health of college baseball in this region. Drew took a guy from the Raging Cajuns. They've always got somebody. I took a guy from La Tech. We've mentioned Oral Roberts on here. Like the health of college baseball around here, it seems like the programs across this region do a good job of finding the talent, because there is a lot of talent to find in Texas, Louisiana, you know, Oklahoma, even going to the JUCO level at New Mexico. They've always got guys at those programs.
Yeah, I mean, even Louisiana Tech. I mean, you could have picked 3 players off their team that nobody picked, and nobody would have looked at your roster and like, why in the world did you draft him? Taylor Young, still Netterville in the outfield, Jorge Corona behind the plate. Like all 3 of those guys are really accomplished players and hitters.
Yeah, I had them all on my list. I mean, Taylor Young hit 331, 19 doubles, 7 jacks, 36 RBIs, 10 stolen bases, and 2 errors on the season.
That's pretty good.
2. Yeah.
That'll play.
Yeah, I had Netterville teed up as a possible DH too.
It's possible that the snub roster might be better than one of our actual rosters.
Well, that'll be my Friday.
Just because there's so many guys out there that.
Well, it's why Tuesday games or midweek games in the region are no joke. I mean, that's
tough.
Like we've talked about, that was, you know, a lot of times that was one of the hardest things for freshmen to learn at these big programs is that, you know, if you're playing against the name on the jersey, you know, you're making a big mistake. If you don't show up on a Tuesday or Wednesday at one of these big programs in this region, you're going to get beat. And it's just bottom line. I mean, there's so much good talent at these spots. And it'll be interesting to see, you know, now that we're in the portal era, you know, if that starts changing a little bit, if some of those, you know, like a guy like Dylan Rock jumped from UTSA up to A&M, right? I mean, there's going to be some of that happening, and, you know, it'll be interesting to see what its effect on college baseball is going to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Kendall, we've kept you long enough. Any parting shots here as we get closer and closer to the college baseball season? I know it's going to be here soon, and it certainly flies by, especially for a guy like you that's hammering away at the content already.
No, it should be a lot of fun. Obviously, big expectations down in Austin. It's always tough being number one. People think it's awesome, and yeah, it is for about a month. But everybody wants to beat you even more than they already did before, and that's going to be tough for them to handle. I think that team, though, with all the experience, will handle it well. I think up in the state of Oklahoma, I'm really intrigued to see what both of those programs do. Oklahoma State, obviously, a lot of upside. We kind of took a little bit of a gamble on those guys in the top 6. Very curious to see if they can meet those expectations. Oklahoma had just a weird year last year. I think Oklahoma, I think it was Drew took Jake Bennett. I think a guy like that has a chance to have a huge year. Chaz Martinez, circle that name. I think he's going to have a really big year for the Sooners. They could surprise. And, of course, Arkansas, I think, is going to be really good. Obviously, losing Peyton Pillette hurts. But those guys have an abundance of riches on that roster. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Yeah, a lot of legitimate national title contenders in this region, and a lot of teams capable of kind of taking that jump too. The Big 12 in particular, I think, is, obviously Texas heads into the year the favorite there, but you mentioned it, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. We talked about Tech kind of just laying in the weeds there, which is totally unusual for them. It should be a really fun year in the Big 12, and it's always, what is it, what Cheesebro call it, the League of No Mercy at the SEC. I mean, we know that's just going to be a battle royale there, and a lot of teams in this region too that are going to be, I think, knocking on the door for NCAA tournament bids, maybe even the at-large mix as well.
Yeah.
With the DBUs of the world and things like that. So,
Kendall, but between the 5 tool guys, which team do you think is better here? Team Dustin or Team Bish?
I mean, I have your favorite player in college baseball. Like, how could you say no? How could you say no to a Bob Moore team compared to a team that has like 97 Longhorns on it?
The team that he picked number 1, remind you.
So, I love the fact that Dustin was able to get Trey Morgan, Bob Moore, and Jace Young. But I probably got to go with the team who has like more than one proven pitcher in the rotation.
Noted.
Says the guy that picked all upside with his pitching, besides Stevens.
So Justin Campbell.
Campbell's not upset.
Wasn't Justin Campbell the Big 12 pitcher of the year last year?
Was he?
Maybe he wasn't, but boy, he had like a 2.5 ERA or something last year.
I think he was definitely first team.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's look that up.
Trying to think who
I should know this.
I mean, wasn't Ty Madden the Big 12 pitcher of the year?
Yeah, it was Ty Madden. Duh.
That decent guy named Ty Madden.
Ty Madden.
Yeah, but I mean, the crazy thing, and part of it was he got inserted into the rotation a little bit later, but I mean, Pete Hansen, let me find this.
Well, yeah, because he was throwing like 84 for half the year.
Outs are outs. He threw, let's see, Pete had 91 innings, 80 strikeouts, 1.88 ERA in 91 innings.
Well, how many of those were Tuesday games?
And a 201 batting average against.
Yeah. I'll say this about Tuesdays.
Pete. I'll say this about Pete. Like, I've told scouts this. Like, I get that the dude's throwing like 86, 88, but it is hard to find a pitcher in college baseball with that good of pitchability. If Pete Hansen could throw 91, 93 like he was as a freshman, he's probably a top 5, top 10 pick.
I wouldn't go that high, but I think that he would absolutely be an All-American. He still might be. I mean, he can work at 87 to 90 and just carve up lineups third time through.
Early reports from the spring are looking pretty good. So
how would you know?
Huh?
Is that coming from the same sources who just picked your whole team for you on text?
My phone's plugged in over here.
Yeah, and I think Stevens being back is going to help all those pitchers too, because that guy is just the ultimate tone setter. Like, this is how we go about our work, and we know it. I mean, those guys matter so much in college baseball. I mean, that type of experience and leadership you can bring back for sure. But well, Kendall, thanks so much, man. We had a blast doing this, and I'm sure we'll try to squeeze you in during your busy schedule once college baseball gets going, and hopefully we bump into you on the road at some point, whether that's in Austin or down in Houston, maybe at the Houston College Classic or something like that. So Thanks for hopping on board. You can get to d1baseball.com and check out all of Kendall and the team's content, and follow Kendall at Kendall Rogers on Twitter. He is Mr. College Baseball and hater of all college baseball teams.
Always.
Thanks again, Kendall, man. We appreciate it.
You got it. Right.
Thanks to Kendall Rogers of d1baseball.com for joining us for our 5-tool college player draft from this region, Texas and bordering states. So for you non-geography people out there, let me see if I can get this right. Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and New Mexico. Did we select anybody from New Mexico?
No, but I had 2 guys queued up. I had an outfielder from Zarek Signs from
New Mexico. Name.
Dude, he hit like 370 last year. All singles, but he hit like 370. The other one typically was I had a guy named Ethan Mann queued up as a possible DH. He hit, let's see, where is he on my list? He hit 305, 13 doubles, 11 home runs, and 50 RBIs, excuse me.
They usually have a guy, New Mexico State just puts up monstrous numbers. When, Nick Gonzalez was a top 5 pick or top 10 pick for the Pirates not too long ago. But, the one thing, thinking back to our draft, the one thing it taught me was there's not a lot of proven pitching in this region this year. I feel like relative to years past, you could kind of rattle off a bunch of names. Oh yeah, this guy. Oh yeah, this guy here. Like he's the proven Friday night guy. But there's not. I think that's one of the reasons why you saw Baseball America and D1 Baseball pick Texas #1 in the preseason rankings, is because you can go down the list and it's like, yeah, here's Tristan Stevens. Yeah, here's Pete Hansen. And yeah, we can feel pretty good about Tanner Witt making a move into the rotation. There's just not that many proven arms around the region. But if you like hitting, there are a lot of bats to go around the region for sure.
Well, that's why let me back up. Zarek Signs is also from New Mexico State. I misspoke. But yeah, talking about the pitching, that's why I took him early, because I just knew that it would cause some issues for both you and Kendall when picking your teams. But you're right. There's some upside. You grabbed Jonathan Fincher from Louisiana Tech, 100-inning guy last year. Yeah. Tristan Stevens, what you're getting with him every time out. I mean, you can just go ahead and pencil him in for 7 innings and 3 or less runs.
Yeah. I think you could do that with Pete too. I mean, I know it's not quite as proven as Tristan, but you can do it with Pete too.
No question. I mean, I think he really has a chance to bolt up some draft boards this year if he gets on a roll and just keeps pitching like he should. The junior year's tough because the draft usually does one of 2 things. It either crushes you because of the pressure you put on yourself. And, I was never in that position, but it's got to be nerve-wracking knowing that every single time you go out there that a couple bad pitches might cost you millions of dollars. That's basically what guys like Pete and Tanner next year, Justin Campbell this year, that's what they face every time out. And the guys, Ty Madden was really good at it last year. He just stuck to his plan and attacked. If you start thinking about things that you can't control and that don't matter, it can eat you alive real fast. The guidance comes from the coaches on those staffs. And, for Pete, he got to watch Ty go through it last year. That's a big deal.
And even he dealt with it a little bit as a draft eligible sophomore, not to the extent that he will this year, but getting your feet wet with that a little bit, communicating with scouts, going through those interviews and things like that can at least kind of help you with the process. But no, it's a great point. I mean, you start seeing your name on some draft lists and start having those conversations with scouts and things like that. And, for some guys, it's tough. You feel like you have to be perfect every single outing. And that can get to you. And the guys that excel, it's one of the reasons why they end up being top picks, is because the people that are evaluating them know, hey, these guys are excelling, knowing that there's some pressure on here. There's a lot of radar guns in the stands. There's a lot of eyeballs scrutinizing every single little pitch you make. But yeah, I was really surprised at just the the lack of the proven pitching. Now we might get to the end of the college baseball season, like, well, a lot of these upside guys we thought had a chance ended up being really, really good pitchers. But that's not ever a guarantee. I took Brandon Birdsell. Brandon Birdsell's been a guy that's had a potential for years. And injuries and things like that. Like, he's still kind of that guy that's kind of trying to have that big season. So we'll see how these arms in this region kind of work themselves out this year.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the teams, I mean, you can make a case, just like with the high school draft, that any of them could be the best one. I mean, there's star power in all of these. I mean, pretty much looking at it, almost the entire Texas lineup and rotation is on these teams. LSU has 4 or 5 plus guys. Arkansas, I was going through typing out who's on what team, and I was like, he's going to get the Arkansas vote. Well, I think I'm the only one that doesn't have multiple Arkansas guys, and I have one of their returning bats, Steady Eddie, Brady Slavens. So I even grabbed a guy, but it is interesting when you look at, LSU's lineup
it's stupid.
Insane.
It's stupid how good that lineup is. I kept going down the list, and it was just like, it's 5, 6, maybe 7 guys that just have a chance to be monsters in that lineup. I don't know how well they're going to pitch, but man, they're going to score some runs. That's for sure. And I think it speaks to the transition period that Jim Schlossnagle and those guys are in, that not a lot of A&M guys on this list. I think that's going to dramatically change in the coming years. Just what we see how well they're recruiting and how the type of guys they're signing. But they're definitely in that period where they've probably tried to fill some holes and build the best competitive roster they can for this season, knowing that in the future they're just acquiring a ton of talent to reach that Arkansas LSU type level and things like that. But I think the Sooners, they have a number of guys on here. I think it speaks to the fact that I think this is going to be a good year for Skip Johnson and those guys.
Yep.
Man, they got so robbed on that 2020 season. Them and Texas both. Both those teams were Omaha type of teams. And I think Oklahoma is going to have a really strong year. And Oklahoma State, you can see why that they were rated one of the top teams, both in the preseason top 25 and in the Big 12 ratings as well. And, you naming some of those guys that, the potential snubs and things like that, we could have built an amazing team just off of non-Power 5 players, because there are a lot of them at the DBUs, the La Techs, the ACUs. We didn't even get the programs.
I know when I was doing my research, I was looking at guys, and man, like, there was a couple of guys that numbers just jump out at you on the page. And I Googled real quick to look at the roster, and man, I was crushed that a couple of them moved on. There was I thought I'd found some hidden gems in my research, but man, like we talked about, Abilene Christian really has some guys. They've got some guys with really good numbers that we played them last year, and it was not an easy series. Craig Perry's got that offense humming. Blaze Lambert, we see him out on the road all the time. And, Rick McCarty's let those guys just really build a nice little roster for him. There's some real talent out there. And like I said, I mentioned my guy, Bash Randall, Braden's older brother. He can play, he was thin coming out of high school, and he's put on some muscle, and man, if he keeps adding to that frame, like he's going to be a draft guy that plays pro ball for potentially a while, because he can really pick it at short. You mentioned DBU, Cole Moore's from some of the scouts I've talked to on the analytics side is off the charts. And he was originally out of high school. He was committed to Tech. And if you're committed to Tech as an offensive player, that's usually a pretty good sign. But Kendall looks like was going for that Baylor vote. Trey Richardson, a player playing second base, I really like, good player. And then who's the other one? He had
Jared McKenzie. I thought I had him queued up, and then Kendall took him from me. That guy, like Kendall said, ever since he got to Baylor, he's just hit. he's just hit over and over and over again. I think that he's going to be a guy that's going to hear his name called pretty early on in the draft. But yeah, I mean, Baylor, I feel like they could have more guys on this list. And we know how well they've been recruiting recently and the type of players, and they've put guys into the draft consistently for a while now.
Yeah, you know what? It was funny you were talking about potentially taking your junior college pick earlier than that, than at the end like we had planned.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at my roster, I might have been smart to take Harold Call and put him at second, have him up the middle with Trey Faltine. But I mean, if he doesn't sign, he's going to go slide into one of those spots, either at second with Bob Moore leaving, or short with Jalen Battles leaving. And I imagine that Peyton Stovall, who you took as a utility /DH, I mean, those two guys could make they're not going to, I mean, you're never going to ultimately replace Robert Moore and Jalen Battles in 1 year, but having Peyton Stovall and Harold Call is a pretty good option.
That might even be an offensive upgrade. I mean, nothing against Battles, but I mean, he's obviously a glove first guy, but yeah, I think Call's going to really hit. And I had Rock all queued up too, because I knew he was a guy that could play in the outfield. When he comes back, he's going to really boost that Oklahoma State lineup even more for sure. But yeah, I mean, just Sanjak has so many guys that just it could have taken arms from McClendon. I saw Surava that Kendall took up at DBU, and he's got a chance to be a weekend guy for sure. And as we know, the list of guys at these Texas junior colleges as pro prospects and guys that end up going to these big D1s and performing at a high level. But yeah, Harold Call was the guy I was ready to take early on. I mean, guy physically is just, I mean, he's a monster.
Yeah. He's ready. I mean, I saw him play this past weekend, and I mean, he's ready.
yeah. He's got a chance, as they like to say. But a fun exercise. I hope that gets the listeners kind of previewed and fired up some for the college baseball season, and certainly for teams in this region, which, as we were saying, I mean, the region is really has a lot of really good college baseball this upcoming season and all the time. And it's a lot of those programs aren't even the Power 5 programs that are really good. And a lot of those teams are going to end up being in the postseason picture for college baseball. And, the health of the state, I was looking at a Keith Law's top 100 prospects list, and 11 guys of the top 100 played their high school or college baseball, actually high school and college baseball in the state of Texas. So that's a pretty good representation when you've got that many guys from a top 100 prospects list that are from Texas. So a lot of great baseball in this region. Again, thanks to Kendall for joining us. You can find all his stuff at d1baseball.com and at Kendall Rogers on Twitter. No better place to get your college baseball coverage than D1.
No doubt.
I thought it'd be fun if we started a little tradition here that kind of extends from our days in the Texas baseball press box. We used to have our polls during the game. We would just kind of tweet out a poll for the Twitterverse to vote on, typically non-sports related, but sometimes sports related. And what sparked this idea was our conversation we had, I believe, last podcast about, your lovely wife, about the wearing an undershirt under like a hoodie or a sweatshirt. Yes, it is weird if you don't have a shirt under there. Like everybody typically does that. And is a hoodie a jacket? No, it's not. You got to have a full zipper for it to be a jacket. We don't need votes for that. We've already established that's the correct answer. So I've got one. My wife, kind of my routine when during the week with Jack is once he goes to bed, I'll usually do a Peloton class, get my kind of workout in, my cardio workout for the day or whatever. Then I'll probably kind of do some work or watch a game or something like that and go to bed. So I'll typically wait until later on to shower. I'm a guy that showers at night before, I'm not a morning person. So when I shower late, I still put deodorant on before I go to bed. And my wife thinks it's weird that I put deodorant because she claims that your armpits and stuff like that need to breathe. It's better for your armpits and like your pores and things like that. It's better if you don't sleep with deodorant. It's like, I was like, I don't, she's like, no, I've read about it and this and that. So that's going to be my poll question is if you shower at night before bed, do you put deodorant on?
What is she? Is she a part of the McConaughey family?
She's got her whole reasoning about the pores and the skin breathing and this and that, and how it's better for all that stuff if you don't put deodorant on before you go to bed. It's not like a smell thing or anything like that. It's just apparently she claims it's better for your body and stuff.
But yeah, I mean, I think both of these questions may just be a male versus female thing, because I mean, I'm definitely putting deodorant on, and I've never thought about not doing that. So
yeah,
I'm with you. I'm with you.
I'm just like, I don't understand why it would negatively impact like my pores and my skin or anything else that's going on there. But I put it on. I mean, she claims that I shouldn't put it on because it'd be better for my skin or whatever. So that's our poll question that we'll tweet out. If you take a shower before bed, do you put deodorant on after your shower before you get into bed? Obviously, you're going to put it on in the morning regardless. That's just that's no vote needed. Like you're gonna wear deodorant in the morning. But yeah, that's going to be our poll question for today. So I think we've established that we are both team deodorant and that sort of thing. And it's not because I smell bad typically. I think I smell fine after showers. But I'm going to put the deodorant on. So, just a fun way to share the conversations in our respective households that go on between married couples. If you're not married, these are the type of things you can look forward to in the conversations you get to look forward to having.
Prepped. Single guys, be prepped for this as you get older and head towards marriage.
Yeah. So, well, that wraps us up for today's episode of the 5-Tool Podcast. Again, get to 5tool.org and click that podcast menu option there to find all of our podcasts. You can go to Podbean as well, and certainly search us in Apple Podcasts. And if you're nice enough and you're enjoying the content, if you leave us a 5-star review, it really helps us kind of get the word out. But we cruise by 12,000 downloads. I'm sure we'll be creeping up close to 13,000 downloads here in the near future. So really, really appreciate the support. And thanks for listening to our college player draft today from the region. High school baseball and college baseball will be starting soon. Drew was out of the JUCO event this past weekend. I plan on, if the weather cooperates, getting out to a scrimmage this Saturday. So a lot of scrimmages are going to get going from the high school level. It's going to be fun to get out and see a lot of these teams and a lot of these players as they gear up for the Texas high school baseball season. But with that, take care, stay warm when this winter weather rolls into Texas. Let's hope we have power next time we talk, and take care.